Morning, Thomas. How are you?
Morning, Rebecca. I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thomas, the squad have said that you give them belief that they can beat any Premier League side. You're currently ninth in the table. What kind of belief have you given them, and how have you managed to do that?
I think the good thing, we have a good squad with players that are confident and believe in themselves, and I try to reinforce that message that if we hit the level we think we can hit, we will have a good opportunity to play even games against a lot of these Premier League sides, and in any game there's always a good opportunity. So it's of course about messages, reinforcing them every day, going into the games, and of course the start to the Premier League have shown with very good performance, more or less every game, that we have something to add to the Premier League.
You've been one of the most entertaining Premier League sides this season, and everybody loves to watch you. You've hit the woodwork 7 times, more than any other team. How frustrating is it to hear something like that?
Yeah, I prefer the ball to go in the back of the net. I think it shows a couple of things that we hopefully create some chances that are dangerous to our opponents. But also these fine margins is a part of the game, and hopefully over the season we can turn it to our favour.
You take on Leicester City this weekend as well. What have you made of Brendan Rodgers' side so far?
No, I think that Brendan Rodgers and his coaching staff, first and foremost, and the club have done a fantastic job the last couple of years. Become 5th in the Premier League table, really so close to get into the Champions League spots. Playing an entertaining style of football. So I think they really developed a good side that is very, very dangerous, and I think they will compete for the top 4 again this season. So a top side, a top manager, a top coaching staff, that we need to be at our absolute best to get something out of the game, which, as you just started with, Rebecca, we of course believe that we can. We know if we can play with that intensity in the pressure, counter-pressing, and when we go forward, then we can create troubles for every team.
Ivan Toney scored 2 goals this season. His ambition is to be top of the goal scoring charts. How do you help him achieve that goal? Because he credits you and the coaches for his 33 goals last season.
Yeah, of course. I think Ivan is a very good player that he arrives in some good positions during the game. And you can also see this season, he's also got this fantastic link-up play where he got at least 2 assists, but could have had even more. So it's an ongoing process with how we train, try to get him and the other strikers in the right positions, their relationship, finishing drill, video, and then his own determination and willingness to constantly want to improve.
And lastly, for me, any injury updates ahead of this weekend?
No, not. The only thing is that Johan Wissa will be out a few more weeks, unfortunately, with the ankle injury. The other one are closer and will be assessed before the game.
Thomas, thank you for your time today, and good luck for the weekend.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Rebecca. Gail from Sky, would you like to go now?
Hi, yes, rubbish internet at Sky, I'm afraid. Doesn't really say a lot, does it? Thomas, sorry if I missed it, but never have I spoken to so many fans when a team has suffered a defeat and they've loved the game so much. I mean, how much confidence, how much did you almost allow yourself to enjoy it despite losing against Chelsea? And how does that set you up for the next few weeks?
Morning, Gail. I think it's one of the tricky ones because at least I think, I don't know a manager or coach or player hating losing. And I'm one of them, and the players don't hate that. But I think that the big thing is that the next thing, if you then performed well, and obviously we performed very well against Chelsea, and I know it was like, let's say the first 60 where they were a little bit, let's say, more in control without them creating a lot, and got that goal a little bit out of nothing. But we were definitely in the game. And then the last 30, where we played with a more bravery, went more forward, changed a few things, and play with that intensity where we know we can create troubles for every team. Can we bring that into the other games? Can we take that confidence with us that we really, really put them under pressure? Actually, that bigger pressure that I don't think there's any other team that created that many shots and expected goals. As far as I know, the stats were that was the highest expected goals stats against Chelsea since Tuchel took over. It was actually quite crazy that we could do that. So that needs to give us a lot. But as you know, it's one game, new game on Sunday, new history. I need to perform again.
It's 3 years since you took over the job, isn't it, now? And as you sort of sat there and took in your performance from your side, how did you reflect on that 3 years? You've come a very long way very quickly, haven't you?
I think it's not too much about me. I think it's the club's development the last 3 years. I think been impressive. There's a lot of good people, a lot of fantastic staff members from that helping me in the club on and off the pitch, and of course the directors and the owner, and not least the fantastic players that been. I think all of us together have built something that hopefully can last. And we know really close to the Premier League 2 years ago, and then we made it last year, and now we every single day we have one aim, that is want to be a something that we can add something good to the Premier League, and we try to do that every day.
Yeah, I mean it's game number 255 in your career. We saw a manager leave after 1,000 earlier this week. And with it, I think we all kind of stopped and looked at those quotes and sort of thought, my goodness, why do you do it? How tough does it get at times? During those 255 games, you've clearly had highs and lows. I guess you've got a bit of sympathy with Bruce, or for you, has life in management sort of been almost plain sailing and enjoyable every second of the day?
Yeah, I would say, of course, followed the situation with Bruce, and I think I said after the game against Chelsea that I want to congratulate him with his 1,000th game. I think that's a incredible achievement for any manager to be able to manage a team in a different club, in 1,000 games. And you can only do that if you're a good manager. There's not one single manager passing that magic number that hasn't had a fantastic career. And I think it's so easy these days that you criticize the manager. Of course, it's especially in the modern time, it's part of the job that you apparently need to be criticized a lot if it's not going the right way. But I think he deserves so much praise. But I also think the situations with Steve and other situations is that's why sometimes you think, is it really worth it? I love working with people. I love working in football, and I've been privileged at least last 3 years, but in general in my career to work with good people, players, and everything. But there is highs and lows. There's and it is a tough job. So sometimes I'm thinking maybe there's other things you need to also do in your life.
But I imagine in your career so far, it's probably never got too tough. I don't know if you found a mechanism of dealing with it, a switch-off mechanism, because it's a long way to 1,000 games if you're going to match Steve Bruce.
Yeah, I think I think if you ask me now, I would say never. I'm not going to manage for that long. But maybe ask me 10 years time where I'm getting closer, and then you say, hey, someone just said you want to stop. So let's see what the future brings, because there's also a lot of good things in this fantastic football world. I think it's about really be aware of what is the most important things in life. And as I think it was a pretty famous other coach that was famous quoted for saying that football is the most important of all the other non-important things. And football is important and means so much to so many people. But there is so much else in life that is much, much, much more important.
Just finally for me, there's a certain man, I'm sure you knew about him, but a lot of us didn't know an awful lot about him about a week and a half ago. Daka, I mean, 3 goals in the week, a nice goal on the weekend as well. What do you make of him? Are you ready for him? Do you know much about him?
Yeah, of course we followed him, and also especially leading into this game that we know he's a player that we need to be very aware of. But let's see what he's doing, Brendan, for the game on Sunday. If it's going to be Vardy and Iñárritu or Daka, we don't know, but we're prepared for all 3 of them, and they have so much quality and threat going forward that we need to be aware of.
Brilliant. Thanks very much.
You're welcome.
Ian Abrahams next, please. TalkSport.
Thanks, Chris. Hi, Thomas.
Hi,
good morning. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. And how are you?
I'm not too bad. So to quote you just now, part of the job as a football manager is to be criticised, but is it worth it? So have you ever sat down and thought, is it worth it? When you have to get up at 8 o'clock in the morning and speak to the media, or when you make a substitution, you get booed. Have you ever gone home and thought, is it worth it?
Yeah, of course, a lot of times. But I think it's mainly, you can say on the highs it's fantastic, on lows it's not that good. But if you want to achieve something over time, or want to create something special with other people, it just demands a lot of work and a lot of hours. And I think, but that's the same in any profession. If you want to create something special and big, you need to put in a lot of hours. And I think it's that part plus the, pressure criticism, which is second to none compared to any other profession in life or sport, I would say, more or less. That's the combination where sometimes you're thinking, is there other interesting things in life you wanna carry on with? But on the other hand, I love the game. I love dealing with people. I love working with people, develop them, and try to create a team or a club that go in the same direction.
But I guess you're kind of lucky because at the moment everybody loves you. Everyone loves Brentford. The bus stop in Hounslow, etc. But there'll come a point whereby things will go wrong at some point, be it at Brentford or be it at another club. And you'll then have to, I suppose, show a really thick skin to make sure you don't take all these problems home with you.
Yeah, of course. You need to do that. And of course, I think there's not one human being or one coach where the criticism is not, hitting you a little bit. I don't think that's possible. If the other guys are saying that, I don't think they're telling the truth. Then it's just how much or how little it affects you, and how good you're dealing with it. I think. So I think also it, affect me a bit sometimes. Of course it does. I'm pretty sure, I'm pretty convinced that I got my priorities right in terms of friends and family is the most important thing in life. And if I don't want to do this, I just become even more important job to be a school teacher or work with children. That is actually more important than the job I'm doing now. I think I'll do something else. I'm convinced about that.
What do you think of your opposite number on Sunday, Brendan Rodgers? What are his big attributes?
Yeah, I think he's done a top job, and I think he's a manager and a English manager that's done a really, really good job and had a very, very interesting career. Shown some fantastic results in all the clubs he's been in, more or less. And I really like his Leicester side and his style of play. I think they're playing attractive, progressive, attacking football, and that they have managed to be, this close. And it's not because he and his player have done anything wrong. I think that's just the margins that you didn't went into that 4th position in the Champions League spot the last 2 years. I think that's just more or less a little bit unlucky, because if you look at the stats, they should have been in there the last 2 years. So I think it's extremely impressive. Plus they won the FA Cup last year. I know it's a few years ago they won the Championship. But the development of Leicester City Football Club is very, very impressive.
Just two more from me. First of all, Ivan Toney. A lot of people saying he was very unlucky not to get called up by England for their last set of fixtures. Do you think Jamie Vardy, who he's going to watch close hand and play up against this weekend, is someone that he could look up to and think, there's a striker that I could sort of follow? Because he had a great career from non-league football right through to playing for England.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think not only for Ivan, I think for a lot of players to look at Vardy, his career, his pathway. I hope there's a lot of players out there that maybe haven't made it yet, have a big belief that with hard work and big determination and actually a big talent in terms of finishing and getting into the right positions in the box or running in behind. I think he's a fantastic role model.
And finally, you've beaten Arsenal, you've drawn with Liverpool, you're very unlucky against Chelsea. You're winning a lot of plaudits this season. At what stage do you think people are going to almost forget you're a newly promoted team? Because it just seems that every time we mention Brentford, it obviously comes with the tag newly promoted. But it looks like you've been in this division for years.
Good question. We are a newly promoted team. We are pleased that we add something to the Premier League, and we are constantly aware of that we need to perform at a very high level to keep adding. We are on a mission that we want to do something in the league this year, and then let's see how far it takes us.
Cheers, Thomas. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Jim Conlon.
Hi, Thomas. Just two quick questions from me, Thomas. Carlo Ancelotti this week came out and he was asked about players from the Premier League that he would like if he could bring into his club at Real Madrid. And he mentioned Youri Tielemans from Leicester City as probably one of the best players in the Premier League and probably one of the players that could grace a side of Real Madrid's calibre in the middle of the park. Do you think Youri Tielemans is probably one of the best players in the Premier League and probably one of the best midfielders in world football?
Yeah, absolutely agree. I understand why he's interested. Morning, Jim. I think Tielemans is... he got a little bit of everything. So he's a very flexible player in a way. You can say, I think he's best in the position where I would call the 8 position, but he can also play a 6. He's so composed and skillful on the ball. Where he both can drive with it. He can also pass in 1 or 2 touches, and he got that fantastic pass in behind, early crosses, top finish. I think it was against United. We scored that goal. I haven't had it confirmed yet, but I'm pretty sure that he did it on purpose to chip it into the top corner, hit the post later in the game. Almost complete midfielder. He's only 24. He will develop. His best years in front of him. So I definitely see him in one of the top clubs in the future.
And Thomas, in relation to your strikers, an awful lot of plaudits is going to the likes of Ivan Toney and Brian and Mbeumo. But obviously your backup strikers like Sam Goodis, the likes of Michael Forss, are going to be very important for you this year as well in terms of their confidence, in terms of their morale, in case unfortunately injuries can happen at any time in football. So are you happy with their progression so far in the Premier League and their development and when they've come off the bench in terms of their opportunities? And would you like to see the likes of Forrest maybe hit the back of the net and Goodis hit the back of the net?
Yeah, I think we also have Johan Visser, of course. I know he's injured this moment in time. He did fantastic, Johan. We talked about him a lot. Marcus Forss is a young talent that we have worked very hard with. And he's worked very hard himself to reach a good level. I think he came on and made a difference against Chelsea without scoring or getting to top chances, but really setting people up and had 1 or 2 finishes. I believe that he has something to bring. Simon Goddard's system is a player that we use in midfield, in the second striker, other position. I think he's a very flexible player. They can play in a lot of positions. So I think we have some good players that can help us in different ways.
Cheers, Thomas, and best of luck against Leicester this weekend.
Thank you.
Phil Perry, please. Big to London.
Thomas, good morning. How are you?
Morning, Phil. I'm good. Thank you. How are you?
Good. Thank you very much. Thank you. You mentioned FA Cup for Leicester. Obviously, they are a team that you met last year on their journey in that respect. Does that experience of coming up against Brendan Rodgers, much changed teams, of course, have any bearing and any advantage in preparation for this game for you?
A little bit, maybe. I remember he played a strong side, but not his strongest side. We didn't play our strongest. We played a strong side, not our strongest. So it's mainly the same. We are preparing for this game by looking back at 4 to 6 games and taking the best out of these games, how they play. We know that he's flexible in his system, the way he set up the teams, but still a very clear style of play in terms of they also like to dominate on the ball, like to create, playing a little bit earlier in front and playing combination around the box, especially on the counter on Vardy and Iheanacho or Daka or who else will play up front. So we know they are a very good side that we need to be aware of.
You mentioned potentially being an educator if you weren't working in football. I know that's obviously something that you trained in and studied when it comes to physical education and education. What similarities, though, are there between potentially being a head coach working in the sporting environment and being an educator?
I think the best coaches are educators. We are teachers. I think it's part of players. Of course, they know the game, but we like to maybe play in specific ways. So we need to teach or coach. I don't know, exact description between what is it when you teach and when you coach. There's so many similarities. And also when you coach the players to pick up a specific skill, or you're standing in front of players and you want to get across with some of your messages. I think there's so many things where you do some of the same bit because you want to create a culture, style of play, develop a player, and all in that aspect you do some of the same bits, definitely. Also, I think there's also life skills. Where I try to teach still young people in terms of hopefully not only being better players but also better human beings.
And you look at your squad, finally for me, you look at your squad, and I mean, I know Ethan Pinnock did a similar sort of degree study himself, but do you look at players out there when you're actually training or when you're even during game time and thinking, there are players out there who've got real potential to be coaches, and as a consequence, are they useful to you, those players, when it comes to actually match day situation?
I think the more leaders, coaches, whatever we can have on the pitch and on the same time, the better. Because there's many ways of being a leader. There's also that, very, how could I say, your body language, you're very animated, you want to attract people or the players going forward or whatever, but also the small communication during the matches at the halftime and the stops in the play. That's where you need the players in there. The more, the better to help getting your ideas across, but also changing small bits in the game. So the more we have of those players, the better.
Brilliant. Thank you for your time. Best of luck on Sunday.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Right, just to remind, we're still under immediate embargo at the moment. Everything now is for immediate release. So you and Louis, please.
Hi, Thomas. Nice to meet you.
Hi, Evan.
Congratulations, firstly, on a phenomenal start to the season. I wanted to know if you think that having an extra year in the Championship after losing that playoff final to Fulham was actually beneficial in giving you time to develop your philosophy and get the right players into your squad.
Good question. We'll never know, but let's say it was. No, I think as a club and as a squad, I think we we definitely learned something from the first year that we took into the next year in Championship, and hopefully that gave us a better opportunity to develop our style and the players. So they were hopefully even better prepared to go into the Premier League and play at the highest level. I would say that we still had quite a few good players, especially Saeed Benrahma and Ollie Watkins. I still like them to play in our team now. I think we'll be looking really strong, and I'll have a big headache in terms of which one I have to choose. But I think we definitely developed, and hopefully we continue developing as a team and as a club.
That's great. Just one more question for me. Looking ahead to Leicester this weekend, any chance you think you could be the next Leicester, push for the top?
Good question. I think they're definitely a club that you need to praise and learn from, especially the way they went through. I know they got promoted, magically won the championship, but the year they won the championship, fantastic. But these years they actually, especially the last 2 years, can compete, and I'm 100% sure they'll compete with the normally bigger clubs. So it's impressive how they just added layers and layers, keeping a clear strategy. So it's definitely a club we want to learn from.
Great, Thomas. Thanks for.
Izzy, please.
Morning, Thomas. How are you?
Morning, Ozzy. I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very good, thank you. Just another word on Leicester. They were in, I'm sure you're aware, they were in Europa League action on Wednesday afternoon, in Russia, having beaten Spartak Moscow. Do you feel potentially that your side maybe has the edge on them in that regard, having, maybe they potentially like them carrying a little bit of fatigue?
No, I'm pretty sure that they are well trained and fit, and they have a strong squad, and they will rotate a few players. Pretty sure this striker called Vardy will start, and he didn't start at Wednesday afternoon. And I think when you have 3 days, no problem. 2 days, you can say a tiny bit, but I know that we played, I think it was maybe 20 games, Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday, in a row last year. Managed to keep, with our numbers last year, actually a better intensity in some games. So they will be fine. They'll be ready. I'm 100% sure.
Yeah, and also going back to, unfortunately, the last week's defeat to Chelsea. There was no Johan Wissa, but the likes of Marcus Forss and Saman Ghoddos really did step up to the plate. Getting themselves involved whenever they did. How impressed were you with them, and do you think that they can, help again on Sunday?
100%. Very pleased to can't praise Marcus and Saman enough, because they haven't played that many minutes, but in the Premier League, but they trained very hard, staying very fit. So when they are stepping into the team, into the Premier League, they are ready, and they can keep the intensity and the tempo, which is so important.
And just the last one from me. Of course, we had the whole European week. We had the Champions League, Europa League, and the Conference League as well. I mean, how great would it be if you ever managed to take Brentford into any European competition, and would it mark as one of your greatest ever achievements?
Yeah, if we manage to do that, it will be that. We big focus on the next game. I keep saying that because it's so important. We want to end as high as possible. Let's see where it takes us. We never know. Everything can happen, both going up but also going the other way. Very aware of that. That's why stay in the moment. Do everything we can to maximize things, and let's see where it takes us.
Okay. Thank you very much, Thomas. Have a good day.
Yeah, thank you. You're welcome.
Right, thank you, everybody. So we're now done with the anything under immediate embargo. If anyone wants to put their hand up now for anything for the Saturday papers, if anyone wants to do anything for that.